Well, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, the 213th day of the year. There are 152 days left in 2023, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom. So, as of this morning, the Writers Guild of America, which represents most of Hollywood's writers, and the Screen Actors Guild, or SAG, who represents Hollywood's actors, including yours truly, are still on strike. Other unions have joined in as well, which was supposed to totally shut down Hollywood's film and television business. The strike is against the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP, which includes Amazon/MGM, Apple, Disney /ABC, Fox, NBC Universal, Netflix, Paramount/CBS, Sony, Warner Brothers Discovery, HBO, and others. I've been through 3 strikes in my career. One when I worked for management in AT&T, and from that side, I was on the management side. That was a piece of cake. The second one was also a writer's strike in 2007. It was coupled with a recession and with the other unions going out, and it was brutal. I was in Los Angeles, and there was a lot of dissension in the union's ranks. And as I said, it was tough, very tough. This year, I'm retired. There are no big protests where I live. Plus, I still get my residuals and my monthly pension. So far, the Emmy Awards scheduled for September is already postponed. It is tentatively rescheduled for January. Now, from a selfish point of view, I'm scheduled to vote this year because we actors vote on a rotating basis, and this is my year. But that's a small price to pay for the young actors who don't get the benefits like we did. When I first started, we got healthy residuals, and our full insurance, including all the insurance for my family, was free. Now it's a struggle. I wish them well. Our G list today is Sterfon Demings. Sterfon is a exceptional, innovative, and versatile hair designer. He has an extensive body of work that spans from the salon to the screen to styling some of Hollywood's biggest stars. But now he sits at home in Montgomery, Alabama, waiting on his phone to ring like many others. Look forward to talking to Sterfon. Should be a very interesting conversation. So let's get to our roundtable regulars, Barbara Wallace-Edwards and Michael Walker. Good morning, Barbara Wallace-Edwards.
Good morning, Thom. How are you today?
I am doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So what's happening in your world?
Well, Thom, there's a lot going on in the news. You talked about the Screen Actors Guild. Of course, the year's flying by for us. I still can't believe today's August 1st. It seemed like we blinked and here we are in August already. And we just
July
celebrated
just
Christmas.
kind of
It disappeared.
Yeah, it did.
Quickly.
After the 4th of July, it was gone.
Absolutely. And it's like we just celebrated Christmas 2 months ago. And here it is, almost Christmas time again. There are already Christmas decorations out in many of the stores. And
oh my goodness.
that's hard to believe. Yes.
Yeah, it is. So what else going on in your world?
Thom, there's a story that I'm following that I had not heard about until yesterday. There's a Georgia woman who's behind bars in the Bahamas alongside her lover and another man who's accused of murder conspiracy plot. Um, Lindsay Shiver, who's 36 years old, appears to be an adoring Christian mother and wife. She's the wife of, well, now the ex-wife of a former Auburn football player, Robert Shiver. And in reality, she was behind the scenes having this affair with this guy over in the Bahamas who's like 10 years younger than she is. They plotted to kill her husband. They found out about the whole thing because there was a robbery at a restaurant in Bahamas. The hitman was one of the people they suspected of, committing the robbery. While investigating him, they confiscated his phone, looked at all of his messages and found there was messages going back between her boyfriend, and this 36-year-old Thomasville, Georgia woman. And she'd hired this guy to kill her husband. And that's how they found out about it. So sad story, but real bizarre. And then there's word that she's in jail in the Bahamas. The husband, or now ex-husband, is still in Thomasville, Georgia. She called him and asked him to send their private jet over to pick her up and bring her
So,
back to the States. It's like, what? How crazy is that?
hey, it's forensic files all over
All
again.
over again.
So did they wound the guy or did they?
No, the actually the police found out about it before they actually was able to move forward with the plan. So he's lucky to be alive today.
And this guy is a former Auburn football
Former
player,
Auburn football
which
player.
really didn't have anything to do with the story, but it made the headline a little bit
Absolutely.
bigger.
Yes.
And so she went after her husband.
Oh yeah, she's a former, participated in beauty pageant. She attended school originally at Troy State or Troy University. She was a cheerleader there, so she was just all around, all American girl, and we don't know what happened.
She she was gonna kill her husband. That's what
Yes,
happened.
yes, really bizarre.
Okay, well let's get Michael on here. For Michael Walker, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing well, TG. Good morning. How you doing? Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, sir.
Well,
Is that a scarf around your neck?
Yeah, it's a little chill in there. It's a little freeze going
Is a
on.
freeze going on? I got you.
Freeze. You
I'm
know,
with you,
it's
Michael.
freeze warning out. Y'all don't feel that chill in the air?
Let's talk about that freeze warning.
Tell us about your freeze warning.
Well, I tell you what, Hugh Freeze has put a chill over the air. He started in Georgia, then went up to Tuscaloosa, and he's going to spread throughout the Southeast.
Oh,
This
yeah.
past week, he flipped a 5-star from Georgia. On Saturday, he flipped a 5-star from Alabama. And they say there's more to come. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
chill in the air. The freeze is coming.
Okay.
I'm loving every bit of
For,
it.
for those who don't know what he's talking about college football, which is Auburn and Alabama and Georgia, I guess. So,
Yes, sir.
well, hopefully that'll manifest itself.
You know, it's so funny. Both of these guys were 5-stars. So when the first guy from Georgia that was committed to Georgia, when he flipped to Auburn, Georgia writes an article saying he's a 4-star. But all the reports are he's a 5-star. Then Alabama, one guy from Alabama said, well, Auburn better enjoy this because it's the last victory they're going to get. And, they're saying stuff like, well, they weren't that good. And one guy said, well, if they weren't that good, why did y'all want them then?
Right. Yeah, I read a comment on social media today where Alabama fans are saying that Auburn paid him. I was like, well, that's what NIL is. You can pay him now. It's not against the law.
I think we'll have to get somebody on here from NIL. I think that would be interesting to
Yes.
see how that actually works and how they actually
Oh yeah,
go about recruiting.
yeah.
Because my understanding is you're not supposed to use it in recruiting. You're supposed to give it to them after they. But why would you not use it in recruiting if you've got the opportunity?
Well, some people have been using it in recruiting before it was legal to use it in recruiting. So I think they're angry now because everyone else can do the same thing.
Okay, and you won't say who you talk about though.
No, you don't have to say.
Okay.
In other news,
Go ahead.
I like to share with you guys a couple things, but this is, I guess it's every time when we get it near the summer months, it seems like there are issues with the police and certain people. Texas police held a black family at gunpoint and handcuffed their son after the police officer made a mistake. And what I'm talking about is there's this family that was traveling to a basketball tournament. The police officer decided to run their plates, have no idea why. But he ran their plates. They're from Arkansas, but he put in Arizona and described the car. So the system comes back and says the car is stolen. So that's all it took for him to turn his lights on, call for backup. They stopped this family. They handcuffed the son. They had the couple get out of the car, made the female who was driving, who's saying, "This is my car. I'm from Arkansas, not Arizona. It's not stolen." They made her pull up her dress to her waistline and spin around and walk backwards so they could make sure that she wasn't concealing a weapon.
Wow.
The husband, who's a coach, got out of the car and was trying to talk to him and was just so distraught. And then one of them figured out that they had put in Arizona instead of Arkansas, and that caused the whole problem.
Wow.
But yet and still, these people, they were guilty first and foremost.
Guilty and humiliated in the process.
Where was it? Where was it?
This was in Texas.
I know. Where in Texas? Do you know?
It just says on the North Dallas tollway in Texas.
Okay. Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's well, I mean, what can you say? I don't know what to say. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Arizona versus Arkansas. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you say?
Yeah. And then another one that's
you got me speechless on that one.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean,
and the fact that the cop made the mistake, but then they're gonna act as if these people are criminals and treat them like criminals.
Well, what would you do too if man asked your wife to pull up her dress and spin around? I mean, that's pretty ugly.
And they told them that they had a licensed official gun in the car too. They made that known, and that just kind of upped the ante. Now, mind you, I said license, so they're card carrying members. That's the reason why I don't carry a gun, because I say I can be licensed and carry a gun, but it doesn't mean the same thing because of my ethnicity.
No, it doesn't.
Where somebody else that doesn't look like me can be licensed and carry a gun and will be given respect. I know that will not happen to me, So but anyway, there's another situation in Arkansas where there was a mother and two 18-year-old daughters. The mother had surgery and had been recently discharged from the hospital, and she began to experience pain in her chest, down her left arms and stuff, excruciating pains, which is also, they say, is a sign of heart attack about to happen. Right. She got her daughters and said, "Hey, get me back to the hospital as quick as you can." Daughter that was driving had on emergency flashers. She was speeding, trying to get to the hospital. Police gave chase, and the mother told them, say, "Pull over and slow down so you can tell the police what's happening, and maybe their escort is there." But about the same time, a state trooper entered the chase and did a pit maneuver on them. And the pit maneuver is where they hit the car at the back end and cause it to spin out of control.
Oh, wow.
And they did that right at the same time that they were getting ready to pull over, thinking that they could get the help from the police. Got out, guns drawn. The 18-year-old girl faces felony charges for speeding.
What?
Yes. Her court date is September the 6th.
Wow. And this is Arkansas?
This was Arkansas.
It's sad.
Wow. That's tough. Well, hopefully everything will work out okay.
But it's crazy, and I remember back, I guess maybe when I was like in college or just left college, and my grandfather was ill, and I came home and he had 102, 103 degree fever and was in bad shape, and I put him in the car, and I did the same thing. I put the flashers on and I drove him to the hospital there. And, I was thinking, if the police come, what am I going to tell him? But my grandfather was dressed up in a robe and stuff, and you could tell he was sick. So I was holding him with one hand and driving about 80, 85 miles an hour up the Opelika Highway to get to the hospital. And was just thinking at that time, well, I should be okay. The police know us. I felt confident because most of the people knew us. Most of the police officers knew us in that area. But now thinking about this, it could have been totally different.
Yes.
Had it been the wrong cop, you know?
Mm. Man, the last time I got stopped, I was on my way to Birmingham, and I was speeding. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I was coming down the hill, and he asked me what I was doing. I said, well, I was coming down the hill, so I think I was going a little fast. And we started talking, and he said, well, I'm going to just give you a warning this time. I said, well, okay, that's great. And so he gave me a warning. And the funniest thing I tell you is I got stopped one night on the bypass at in Alabama, OPP. And I was driving my wife's car at the time. And this car is a Prius. And he said, what kind of car is that? I said, well, it's a Toyota, it's a Prius. I said, it's a hybrid. So what you mean it's a hybrid? So I went through all the why it was a hybrid and how it ran off the battery and so on and so forth. And let me see. So he came around on the other side and got in. And I said to myself, I ain't getting a ticket tonight.
Right.
And he said, he started telling me a joke. And the joke was funny, so I laughed.
Right.
And then I told him a joke, and he laughed. And finally, he said, well, you know, you need to slow it down a little bit. And I said, I will, you know, and he let me go. And that was, I think I had trouble with police when I was younger. I think when you get older, they feel like you're
not a threat.
You're not a threat, you know?
Right.
And they the last two times they've just given me warnings. And because I try to look out for them, you know.
Right.
Especially when you're going through these little towns. And you got to know where they are.
Yes.
You know, you got to know where they hide.
Where their normal hiding places are.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I'll share with you guys is I know you guys like to eat healthy, especially you, Barbara, and Thom, somewhat, you know. But how would you guys feel about eating lab-grown meat, cell-cultivated meat?
No, thank you.
Say the last part again.
Cell-cultivated meat. Huh. And basically what that is, they take cells from animal cells from cows or chicken or what have you, and collect them and grow them in vats in a laboratory. Same type of vats that's used to create antivirus medication. There are two companies, one called Upside Foods and the other one is Good Meat. And they got approval to sell cultivated meats in the USA. And they had a sample of some chicken and some people said it tastes good. One lady said, I don't like it. Sorry, I don't like it. But that is what's coming. Now, supposedly, it is going to help the environment and is not as pollution involved as how we've been growing our food and what have you. But then they're saying there's also some issues on the other side. But they have been cleared to start to offer that and sell. So now your cows will be grown within a laboratory.
They're going to have us all glowing in the dark before it's over. I don't trust that. The sound
Have
normal.
you ever been to a chicken farm?
I have not. I've seen videos, but I have not been there. Yeah, I
had to shoot a job at a chicken farm one time, and they in this big old long tent thing. God Almighty, and you open that door, and I mean that scent hits you because they put ammonia in there to kind of dull the scent.
Right.
And yeah, it's something, man. So we were shooting this job, and I was the supervisor, so to speak. So when they opened the door, I told the guy, I said, "Well, y'all go ahead and shoot it," because I wasn't going in
I
there.
don't blame you, Thom.
Woo, boy, it was a mess.
Oh,
So
mm-mm.
I don't know which one's worse, but
Yeah, well, they say it may be a little expensive, but they use a sample go with the cells and stuff and then put it in this lab and grow it. So they develop this beef and chicken and what have you.
I don't want to be
okay.
one of the first to try it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got the
this is the new age that we're living in. This is where things are going.
Mm.
okay. So we got the freezer zone, we got the bad cops, and now we got the chickens growing in a petri
In
dish.
a petri
There you
dish.
go.
Not just chicken, Thom. They're doing all kinds of meat. So
All right, well, we'll see what's next. Michael, is that it? You got anything else?
That's it for this morning.
I got you. Barbara, you got anything else?
I do want to mention one other thing. I want to give kudos to the city of Montgomery. There are 2 schools in Montgomery that will now have new colors and mascots and new names. They're dropping the Confederate names from Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis High Schools. Montgomery Public Schools announced um, that the new JAG School and Dr. Percy L. Julian High Schools, 2 formerly schools that were formerly named after Confederate leaders, have the names have been changed. So congratulations to City of Montgomery for taking those steps.
Congratulations, and congratulations to the mayor who is up for re-election, and
Yes.
hopefully he will win. He's done a great job down there, and he was behind getting these names changed. He and
Yes.
Fred Gray and numerous other people in Montgomery that are
Yes.
pushing for change. So, anything else from either one of you?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna move on. Our show today, of course, is sponsored by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl creates the solution that fits your needs. And so let's go to Sean. She's got a minute for us. Let's do that.
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Summer break is coming to an end. The kiddos are heading back to school and getting in their last thrills and chills before they do. Do you like amusement parks? That means roller coasters, funnel cakes, walking, and lots of it. Well, on this day in 1961, amusement park lovers head for the thrills as Six Flags over Texas has its soft opening. Located on 212 acres in Arlington, Texas, Six Flags was the first to feature log flume and mine train rides, and later the first 360-degree looping roller coaster, modern parachute drop, and man-made river rapid rides. The park also pioneered the concept of all-inclusive admission price. Until then, separate entrance fees and individual ride tickets was the standard. During its opening year, a day at Six Flags would cost $2.75 for an adult and $2.25 for a child. A hamburger sold for 50 cents and a soda set the buyer back, you guessed it, a dime. Take me to this place. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
All right. I've got a poster in my office that says the Rolling Stones and the Doobie Brothers were playing live at the Cow Palace in Oakland, California, and tickets were $2.75. So let's go. Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list. Now, our G list guest today is Sterfon Demings, who's a Hollywood hairstylist, and Sterfon is a friend of mine. I've been knowing him for a long time. We started, well, I don't know if we started together. We worked on In the Heat of the Night, and I know we got a lot of In the Heat of the Night fans on this broadcast, and we started on In the Heat of the Night. We also worked on Miss Evers' Boys, which was a classic, and we still have very fond memories of that. And then we worked on a show called City of Angels, which didn't make it, but it was fun and it was interesting, and maybe we'll get to talk about that. So let's welcome Mr. Demings to the show. Sterfon, good morning. How are you, brother?
Good morning. How are you, Thom?
I'm doing great. What's going on in your world?
A lot of heat.
Okay. So give us your take on this. We were in the strike in 2007, which was devastating. I mean, it was, a lot of people got hurt in 2007. What do you think about this strike today?
Well, from what I've been reading and hearing, this definitely could be a lot worse. They said that this is the first time since 1960 that the actors and the writers have pressed for better wages and residual job securities and protections. And just the sheer time that it could possibly go on, because I read another article say that this could maybe go on into the beginning of 2024. So this is going to really impact our industry a lot, if not crush it.
And so now you are also in a union as well, right? And
Right.
So all the unions are pretty much shut down. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, we support the other unions. I'm local 706, which is makeup artists and hairstylists. And I mean, we don't.
And if the writers don't work and the actors don't work, it's kind of hard for y'all to work, right?
Yeah.
It's not funny, but yeah.
No, it's serious, And I remember at one point we had some kind of work stoppage. I was working on a film with Alfred Woodard called The Piano Lesson. And I came in and told her, they say I can't work. And she said, well, I guess that means we can't work. And she said, just come to my trailer and let's have fun. So we just hung out in there and ate and joked around like we normally do. But she really was supportive, and so that's what's happening now. I saw an article the other day about Viola Davis backing away from a job.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Because they had her, first they said she was working the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because evidently there has been some sort of interim agreements.
Yes.
For certain productions that they're still ongoing, but certain actors are taking it very serious and they are not supporting.
In the interim agreement, my understanding is that what the union is asking for in its new contract, whoever signs an interim agreement has to agree to that. in order for them to continue working.
Yeah. So, it's like, what are you fighting for? You know, you give in now, then you're just done for, you know.
Yeah.
But and then there are a lot of other independent productions that are non-union that are ongoing. So it's just really touchy. It's really touchy. Some people are willing to maybe cross the line, but it's like, you know what, you gotta hold that line.
And you and I were talking last week, and everybody's got a story. And you and I were talking about the younger people today who are coming up, and if they, in the last job I was working over in Atlanta, and I was talking to some of the younger actors, and none of them were in the union, man. And it's like, man, you can't make it without. It's just very, very tough to make it without the protections.
Exactly. That is the main thing, because if you think back to before child labor laws, how they were abusing children, basically, and some of that stuff is actually easing back in different areas, maybe not in the film industry, but in other industries. So you need those protections. Um, you don't have uh, the guarantee of insurance, other benefits. I mean, when I came in, uh, it, it was a slim window. I was working with Jack Hay on 227, and we were down to maybe like the last 5 episodes. And they're like, well, here's an opportunity. You can join if you like. So I start weighing the pros and cons. And it's like, okay, because fortunately, the salon that I worked in prior to that, they actually provided insurance. Most salons don't do that. So I had already gotten used to having coverage and not having to come out of pocket. So that was one of the bigger appeals. And having worked some non-union stuff before, and you just see it's like a free for all. It's a lot of the safety standards aren't in place. And it's just the professionalism was different. There was none. It was just gunslingers in there.
I was working as we both said. I pretty much started on In the Heat of the Night with Carol O'Connor. He was very good to me. And, but you can, if you don't have those protections, man, it's tough, And I can remember back then, and you and I talk about it now, and we laugh about it. But man, we had full insurance. You could only children could only work so many hours, and then they had to have schooling, and they still do that now within those hours. They had to have classes within those hours, and so it's different now. I think the big thing is with the background workers. Um, they are, background workers don't make a whole lot of money, but a lot of them are people who've retired from other jobs. A lot of them were educators who came in, and they would come in because they didn't have they were retired. They didn't have anything to do that day, so they come in. They could make $100, $200, whatever. And now that has changed. And if you remember, the last strike was the advent or the birth of the reality shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so the producers said, okay, you're gonna go out on strike. We just gonna start doing these reality shows, and nobody's gonna make any money.
Yeah.
So it's we'll see what happens this time.
Well, another point of contention with it when it comes to well, all the actors, including background actors, but is with the AI. Um, a lot lately, I have seen situations where we almost to the end of the workday, and say maybe for the next day they needed 600-700 extras, and then they realize they're not going to have those numbers. So at the end of the day, okay, we need to start touching up background. I thought we were finished. So we'd have some other people start touching up hair and makeup, and then they would go into like a booth and have their image scanned. So now, once that's captured, it can be taken and used however they want to. So I was telling you, I remember back in the early 90s shooting a film Ty Cobb at Rickwood Field.
Birmingham.
Yep. The oldest baseball stadium in the country, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking about early 1900s, I think it was. And so they needed to fill the stadium up. Well, sometimes they used to use cardboard cutouts and place those in the seats, because if you're shooting from a distance, it looks like a crowd. And then they started using like a blow-up doll, and they would put them in the seat. Well, now they don't have to do that. They can just take that image that they have captured and input it, CGI. So if that background actor has made $100 yesterday, well, maybe they don't call them back today, and they just put the image in there.
Wow.
So it's really talking about people's livelihoods. And with the actors, same thing. It's like capturing the image. How will they use it later?
I would, and I'm going to get Michael and Barbara on here, but I was doing some photography work, and I mean, they weren't paying us a whole lot of money, but it was a day you weren't working that day, so we went down to Long Beach, and we got on this yacht and we rode around on this yacht. And so me and this guy would laugh, and we were drinking and riding around this yacht. And we said, hey man, we do this for free,
Yeah.
So but then 2 years later, my wife and I were at a convention down in South Florida and walked into our hotel room, and my picture was on the magazine in the hotel room and throughout the hotel. And we only got one fee for that. And so, yeah, you have to have those protections, because that's how you make a living. So let me get Michael and Barbara on here, and they got some questions for you. Barbara?
Good morning, Sterfon. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
And most people, when they talk about the strike, they think of the actors and the writers and all of that. But talk about their residual effects, the ripple effects that a strike can have on other businesses in the area. There's restaurants and dry cleaners and Ubers and all of that. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, like even with the Emmys postponing, all of those vendors that were already in place and looking forward to that check, again, that trickle down effect is like, okay, so the person that works for the vendor, this is also affecting his family. So it comes all the way down. Like I was telling Thom, we don't get residuals. But again, if the actors and writers don't work, then I don't work.
Right.
So we have to support that. And it's just trying to make a living. It's these people just want to make a living. They want to be able to take care of their families. They want to be able to have insurance.
Right.
A big issue is insurance.
Yes.
before Michael comes on, Sterfon, talk about who are some of the people you've worked for, who stylists, whose hair you've done on certain shows.
Um, well, I mentioned Viola earlier because when we worked together on City of Angels, that was like a launching pad for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right.
Blair Underwood was there, Maya Rudolph, Viola Davis, Vivica Fox, Thom
Wow.
Gossam. That was just one show.
Right.
But I've been blessed to be able to work with a lot of good talent. You know, again, I mentioned Alfred Woodard. She's has to be one of my favorites. Uh, Ed Norton Jr. I worked with him. Halle Berry for Die Another Day. Quite a few in the span of over 30 some odd years.
I've got a picture of you and Halle Berry here in my office.
Wow.
Anyway, and we're laughing because we're not going to talk about the picture, but go ahead, Michael.
Good morning, Sterfon.
Good morning, Michael.
Glad to have you with us again. And
Thank you.
I've got a couple things, but tell us about your journey from Monkeytown to Scotland. All the way from Monkeytown to Scotland. Whoever would have thought somebody would grow up in Monkeytown and end up in Scotland?
You know, trust me, I did not have a clue. I had no idea. It's so funny. Yesterday, I reconnected with someone from the third grade, and we had the best time laughing, talking. He has gone on to be a very successful musician, but we talked about that third grade class in particular. At the time, Alabama State University was doing an experimental program, and I think it was just first through third grade. And it just seems like everybody from that little group went on to do things. Um, a very exciting point is a young lady I had a crush on. She is actually my son's doctor now.
Wow.
You know, and just we laughed because she was like, she always did her homework. So you knew she was going to be a doctor. But it was just, and the reason that came up because I'm looking for that third grade teacher. I wanted to go back and say thank you because she did make a difference, and it was a very pivotal point. But I felt like I was going to get in trouble. I was doing hair, but things were so tight here that, when you start not seeing another way out, then it's possible for things to go a different way. And so really it came down to a point of desperation for me. And I got as much as I could, which was $200. And I hitched a ride to, I was supposed to be going to New York to work for someone I didn't know through a family member. And I got to Washington, D.C., and I was out of money. So I had to borrow $65 from my cousin to catch a one-way flight to New York. So it was just a matter of, I'm not gonna look back. I just got to go for it. And talking about a leap of faith, that's what it was. I got a chance. I was telling Thom I had my little experience with homelessness, but I just was not coming home. I had called and asked my parents for money, which they really didn't have money. And they said they would send me money to come home, but they wouldn't send me money to stay there. So it's like, I'm not going back, So it was like from an empty building to a room in a boarding house, from the room in the boarding house to one of my clients had a basement apartment that she was living in her family's home, and then she gave me that. So it just, I worked for John Atchison there in New York, was a premier hairstylist, and a lot of celebrities came in and out of the salon there. He gave me my first educational trip to London, and things just kept rolling. I moved to LA. Lots of celebrities came, black celebrities came to that salon, and it just kept progressing. So, but
we have a lot of people on here. Well, we have in the heat of the night contention, and so one of them wants to know: did you do Carol O'Connor's hair?
I laugh. Yes, I did, because I told Thom a story. Mr. O'Connor, was bald in the top, but his hairstyle was a kind of a slight pompadour. So I had different hair pieces for him, and we had named him the possum. So I had about 5 possums, and we used to call him Pops. So he had a possum for when he was going out, a possum for up under his hat. He'd take his hat off. Yeah, and he was a great guy.
He was.
I really enjoyed him. You could tell he really cared about you. It wasn't fake. It wasn't phony. He really cared about who worked around him and for him.
That's awesome.
He really did. He loved Howard Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
He loved Howard.
Wow.
He was good to Howard Rollins. He was good to all of us.
One take Howard.
Howard had some issues, so he was always good.
Yeah, it's called him One Take Howard.
That's right.
It might be a problem getting him out of his room, but once he hit that mark,
he was on. That's great.
Yeah, amazing.
We could take Michael.
Yes, and for those who do not know, Monkey Town is a nickname for Montgomery. Sterfon is from Montgomery, and growing up in that area, we used to call Montgomery Monkey Town. So just wanted to let everybody know that. Sterfon, tell us about how your big break came with White Men Can't Jump. And is it true white men can't jump?
According to the movie. And it's funny, I haven't seen it, but they have a new one out now, I think it is. And I was like, kind of hard to see, because sometimes you just have to leave the original alone, Mm-hmm. Actually, that was just kind of a pivotal point, because that was my second film. And I was working to become a part of an international artistic styling team with a company called Sebastian. And I had always admired them and their creative director. And man, I worked hard and made the team. And this was going to make it for me to go around the world. And then the opportunity came up for White Men Can't Jump. And I was like, man, I don't believe this. So my first film was Boys in the Hood. And now here comes White Men Can't Jump. And it's like Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, Rosie Perez. Man. So I gave up the dream of being this international platform artist going around the world to do White Men Can't Jump. So after that, it was like, you know what? I can't go back. So it was all film after that.
We did. Go ahead, Barbara.
I was just going to say I'm sorry. I was just going to say congratulations. They say that it comes a time in your life where you make a decision. It's either the right decision or the wrong decision. And you don't know until further down the line how it played out. And kudos to you for making the right decision for yourself.
No, thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Starfront, I want to ask about your very humble beginnings as a hairstylist. How did you get into that profession? Because many of our viewers may not know that story.
Well, I started off cutting my own hair, and then different guys in the neighborhood would ask me to cut their hair. Yeah, my mother would fuss because I would have guys in the backyard and hair be all over the yard. Clean my yard up. So I got kicked out of the backyard and into the storage room. And there's a little bitty space, and I'd be in there cutting hair, and it's like, man. And I had a couple of uncles who were barbers in Ohio. And in about the mid-'70s, they were talking about the Jerry curl. And they said, man, we're making so much money doing this. And it's like they were making $75 a head. Now,
Wow.
this is in the 70s. And I was like,
Yeah, that's a lot
what?
in the
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to beauty school. So I started beauty school in high school.
Mhm.
But the reason I went, I was like, I can get out of school for half a day and be in a classroom of all girls.
Mhm.
Sign me up. Yeah. So
Smart.
it was probably for the wrong reason, but it turned out to be a good thing. I actually started to enjoy it. It wasn't, it was like, okay, it's cool being here with the girls. Now, also mind you, at this time, there was a certain impression of male hairdressers.
Mhm.
So I had to withstand all of that. And that
Right.
was a lot. That was a lot. Right? I was like, if y'all only knew, So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll take it because I'm going to show you guys.
Right.
And
We both of us worked with Alfred Woodard, and you were Alfred's stylist. No matter what show she was on, she would request you, and you would go and do her hair. And then we did Miss Evers' Boys, which was just so much fun. Fishburne, Oba, the man from Atlanta, I can't think of his name.
Von Coulter, I think.
Von Coulter, and had a great director in Joe Sargent. We just had a great time. We had a lot of fun. And then after that wrapped, we were back in Los Angeles, and Alfred had a party for her husband. And we went to the party. And you were dancing with this woman, and I looked over there and I said, "Man, that's Magic Johnson's wife you dancing with."
Thanks, though.
Anyway, she looked at me like, "Why you want to say that out loud?" Like, I'm sorry.
we were like two kids, really.
Yeah, we were.
Everybody
was in there.
Yeah, we were just excited being in the space. It's like, wow. And Thom's famous lines, I'm from Alabama. I was like, here you go. That was his lead-in, but it was perfect, because we were different from everybody else. We weren't Hollywood. We were just having fun, and did not care. And I think that was part of the appeal for a lot of people, because it's like these two country boys, but they know how to have a good time.
Right.
We did.
And that's all it was, just simple, clean fun. And that's what we were laughing about that the other day. We never got in trouble. We just had fun.
That's great.
And I did when I did, I would start every conversation off with, "Well, I'm from Alabama," because it was an opening. People would want to talk to you then because they had never met anybody from Alabama.
Right. And I look over and I'm like, here he go.
Okay. So before we close, Michael, Barbara, you got anything else? Sterfon, you got anything else you want to add?
I just want to congratulate you on being a gold card winner. So you got your gold card. Congratulations on that. If you want to elaborate on that, you can tell everybody what that is.
Well, I call it an old card. That's just to let you know you old. When you get to your 30-year mark in our union, you get a gold card. And it was like, wow, because sometimes you don't, when you're just working and you don't look up, you don't realize the time has passed. And, it's just time well spent for me. Going back to Miss Evers' Boys, I was explaining to my son about why that movie was important. And, it got to a point where I really started to try to make choices in what I took in terms of work because of what's going to be left later behind me. So just saying in packaging that 30 years, I tried to do stuff that was worthwhile, So it was a blessing to get to that milestone.
Yeah, and it was a blessing to show up on the set and know you were going to be there. Because I know I had a friend, and then you get to meet the people. You get to meet the people that you work over and over and over with. And just one last thing, City of Angels, Vivica Fox just cussed that director out. I mean, we worked, you generally work about 14 hours a day. We were on about 18 hours that day, and everybody was tired, man. And she went over there and she just let him have it, It was like 2:00 in the morning, man. We had gotten there, that the previous morning. And it was time to shut it down. So it's great. A lot of great stories.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sterfon, thank you, man. Appreciate you. And we hope this. I read something the other day where this one guy was saying he thinks this strike is going to be a long one. I think it's going to go on for a while. And I hope not, for the people's sake.
Yeah. Yeah. They had, I took this thing down from one of the Wall Street Journal opinions. And the guy said, I hope I'm wrong, but the struggle between writers and actors unions and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers looks to me as if it will go long and be epic. We may look back on it as one of the consequential labor actions of the 21st century.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a long one.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
So how do I feel about the strike? I'd like to see it over. I've got too many friends in the business that this is hurting. Sterfon, Michael, April, David, Alfrey, my friends in LA and Atlanta, my agents in Atlanta, my producer, David, in North Carolina, especially the young actors who are trying to come up. It's a tough business, tough to come up. Most actors who, quote, make it without connections will tell you how lucky they were. Others will tell you how close they came. I've got both of those stories. From my first film, where I was discovered on the south side of Birmingham in a play after I started acting after a football career, to Carroll O'Connor and In the Heat of the Night, to where he just decided I was his city councilman And I said, well, why? I went in for this audition, and they were selecting a city councilman, and I had been the city councilman the year before. And I said, why are you trying to give my job away, man? And he looked at me and he said, well, I won't give your job away. It's your job. And I worked that job for the next 5 or 6 years. Casting director Lorraine Mayfield in Fight Club. It's been a ride that started later than most, but it was and has been a hell of a ride. And that is how I see it on this August 1st in the year 2023. And that's our show for today. We want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. We want to thank our G-List guests and my good friend, Sterfon Demings. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. And as always, thanks again to the TWT team, Barbara, Sean, Emily, Michael, and Joyce. And that's it for this 1st of August. Remember, enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.